Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Jake. You can call me Atrocious, and today we've got the National University 3-on-3 Championships that happened at the very end of the OP06 ST13 meta, pretty much like prior to EB01's release. We're going to be doing commentary of the first round in the top 8 bracket of the 3v3, and just to make sure everybody's clear, this is not my content. This is from the official live stream that happened about 2 weeks ago at this time. So link in the description if you want to watch the official live stream and not hear me blab my big old mouth. But for everyone else that would like some commentary, a little bit of extra knowledge on what the 3v3 is, basically, it is teams of 3 going up against each other. Each player on a team has to pick a different deck. And so you get matched up with another team, and the best 2 out of 3 team advances in the bracket. And so we're going to be checking out Team A playing Moria, Enel, and Sakazuki, and then Team B, the blue team, playing Moria, Katakuri, and Sakazuki. Now, one thing about this, I believe, is they're only going to showcase the leaders match. So instead of watching Moria, Sakazuki mirror matches, we'll be watching the Enel versus Katakuri in this one. I don't know if it's the same way the entire way, but I know at least for this one it is this match. So let me know who you think is going to win in the comments below, but also let me know if you are a returning viewer, how you felt if you checked out the stream the couple days ago where we live streamed a money match. If you didn't see, like in the community tab, I posted that there was a money match happening at my locals. I streamed it on Twitch, and I hope that if you saw it, you enjoyed it. But let me know if you want more of those in the future. We can stream locals if we want. I could very much do that, because that was at my locals. And so if that's something that people want to see, like every Tuesday or so, all right, I'm in. It looks like the Enel player is going first in this game, so I would assume that the Katakuri won the coin flip. Now, I haven't played that matchup too much, but I feel like Katakuri may have a slight advantage in it. And then for the other 2 players, they're both going first on the left side of the screen. So with Moria, I think you want to go first in the mirror match, and well, no, because then you can't play 8-drop or Rebecca's as quickly, so maybe you want to go second, actually, now that I think about it. And then the Sakazuki, I think does Sakazuki want to go first? And so checking out this yellow matchup, I'm not a huge fan of yellow, but I do know what all the cards do. Plus I've got my little cheat sheet over here in case some of the ST13 or the OP06 cards come up that I can look up. But here we go. Typical NL turn 1 going first, just Dawn and pass. Going into the Katakuri's turn, the Katakuri with no pudding also does the draw, Dawn, and pass, moving into the Enel's second 3-ton turn. So attaching 1 and swinging 6, going to be a 2k Amande out of there. Usually just always what that card is used for. And now a decision right there. It looks like it's going to be a pass. Could have played the OP06 Hiyori if they wanted to. That Hiyori might have been nice, but the Katakuri now going to be on the 4-don turn, just going to be swinging 5, just a regular 5 at the leader. No extra over there. And it looks like after that Brulee trigger hits, that's very nice. They're just going to be playing that blocker Sanji that costs 4. So playing a little bit slow, playing a little bit defensively, just trying to chip away at them. The Enel draws an Onami, one of the better cards of OP06 that releases, gives one of your characters or leader banish for the turn. So going to be playing down that Onami and giving it to the leader, and it wouldn't surprise me if we just saw a 3 and swing. So 8k swing over at the Katakuri is going to be banished. We did see that 2k Monday pitched earlier, and it looks like they're just going to be blocking out of that one. You definitely don't like seeing banish if you can avoid it, so a perfect time to go in that blocker. It feels kind of bad because you blocked the last swing, but it ends up being, I think, relatively okay. So they're going to be playing 4 to play a, or I'm sorry, 5, I'm sorry, for a Gadatsu. And the Gadatsu is going to pop the Brûlée because it's the same cost as the amount of life they have left. And the Katakuri is finally going to get that extra bonus swing, going to be swinging 7 at leader. That top life was a Perospheros, so they're going to leave it on top. As soon as it gets hit, if it's not a banish swing, it's going to be hitting the field and applying pressure. So now at 7 Dawn on the Enel's turn. We've gotten here kind of fast, I feel like. Got a couple options in hand. They could play that Rush Ace that they've got on screen right here. That's a 5 cost ace character. Very, very good and very popular among yellow decks. And so they're going to be attaching 2 actually and swinging that Onami. That's going to be a 5k swing right now. And they're really thinking, do they want it to hit or not? This is a little baby free swing, but it is going to put out that Perospheros, so they are going to do that. And so now at 2 life after taking that last one, we'll see how this goes. If you're at 2 or less life, that character Ace does get the rush, so that's why they showed it earlier. And after that 5k swing getting another Amande, that Ace is going to come down because they're at 2 or less life and going to swing 7k. So as of right now, life is tied up and it looks like there's potentially a trigger. It is a Satori, and looking at this hand, I'm not 100% sure if I play Satori, right? Because you do have to pitch a card in your hand, and your cards are pretty important. 200 millivolts Amaru is really, really good. If they put down a Brûlée or a Sanji, the impact is really, really good. The 2Ks in your hand. If you play the Satori and get rid of an Amande, you're effectively getting rid of 2Ks, right? One that could have gone into your hand, that is the Satori, and then the one that you would pitch if you play, that is the Amande. So it looks like they are going to play it, and the impact is going to be the card that gets pitched. I don't hate that decision overall. I think it's a very awkward spot, and now they're going to continue on their turn. 9 Dawn turn now, going to be drawing into a 7-drop Big Mom. That was actually a really, really good drop. You do have something nice that you can play this turn. You can swing 5 with Perospheros, 5 with Satori, 6 with Gadatsu, 7 with the leader, and then you can play down the Big Mom for 7 to pretty much end the turn. So you really have to be careful though about how many times you swing, because depending on how many times they counter, right? If you can't hit lethal this turn, you want to stop swinging and kind of save your characters, right? Because if they start cycling through their 1 life left as the Enel player, they're going to continuously hit your dudes and knock them out and starve you out of resources. So swinging 5 with the Satori is a really good start. It's going to put them at 1 life left, and there's a potential trigger here. It is a Hiyori. The Hiyori going into hand doesn't have a trigger on it, if you were wondering. And so thinking about now what they want to do, going to be swinging 5 again at the leader. They might not play the 7-drop Mom depending on how this goes. They're going to pitch the Shirahoshi. That's an alternate art Shirahoshi. Very, very pretty that they pitched, that 5-drop that we all know. And so thinking about what they want to do, they're just going to play the Big Mom now, not even going to swing with the Gadatsu at this point, and put the Enel in a decision. Are you going to give me a life, or are you going to proc your leader effect, essentially? So very interesting spot. They do have some counter in hand overall, because those Hioris are 2k counters, so they got 2 of those, and I think a Capone in their hand, the player on the left side. And so the Katakuri is going to gain a life. The Enel says, you know what, you take a 3rd. That's fine. One thing that's very interesting too is they haven't been swinging at these characters. The Onami, the Ace, haven't been swinging at those to try to get those off the field. I think this Gadatsu is swinging at life right now. And honestly, if I was the Enel, I wouldn't hate to like go ahead and like 2k out of this potentially. You do get to manipulate your life a little bit, kind of filter that Brûlée if you use the Hiyori this next turn, because the Hiyori on play top or bottom of your life into your hand and put one card from your hand at the top of your life stack. So again, could use that Brule. Opts for the Sanji instead, that old Sanji card to drop. And so that 2K out of the way. They've got several 2Ks in hand actually, but also a couple Yamatos that are not counter cards. So going to be swinging 7 potentially. They're attaching 1. I would maybe just go at this ace right here. Yeah, I think this ace is a fine idea. That top card right there is, I think, an impact. It is an impact. So that is a trigger that is just draw 1 card. So thinking about whether they want it at the top or bottom, it is a really nice card. I prefer to have impact, I think, in hand to play because the trigger draw 1 card is not as valuable as the main effect that you could do. So I think leaving it on top is fine, saving that card. And so the Brule is pitched. Okay, so pitching the Brule, I would think that they're probably going to play Yamato this turn if I had to take a guess, because I would think that Brule is a really good like filter card that you use with the Hiyori. So thinking about what they want to do, they will get like a 5K swing with leader and then a 7K swing with ace. Since you know it's impact, that Enel is going to hit the Satori, and I think they're trying to avoid the quote-unquote potential trigger or this valuable card coming into the Katakuri's hand, right? Because they left it on top and they thought about it for a little bit, so you know it's got to be like a relatively valuable card. So this ace now going to be swinging at the Gadatsu. They didn't save the Satori, but they had a 2K Amande in hand to save that Gadatsu. I think that Gadatsu is pretty important. And so going to be resting the Dawn, doing the Yamato, and the Yamato with 4 life in total on the field. Going to be popping the Perospero and proccing the Perospero effect. Going to be looking at the 3. It's going to be Sanji, Beijing, and something else. I can't tell what it is, but there's no Big Mom cards actually in there for them to grab. So just going to be putting it at the bottom of the deck. That's a tough whiff overall. And so gaining that life, going back up at 2 now. The Katakuri is now at 10. So the Katakuri could actually play the 10 drop Big Mom this turn, and they've got some big bodies to be able to swing. You only have 1 swing though at the ace, right? If you do play the 10 drop Big Mom, because the ace is at 7,000 and you can't power up any of your dudes if you play the 10 drop. So thinking about what they want to do, they did top deck a pudding. So the pudding is interesting of a spot. If I were them, I think what I would do is I'd probably swing the Linlin at the ace first to see how they react to that. Maybe get some counter cards out of the hand potentially, at least one with a 2K, and then play the Big Mom. So going to be swinging this 5. I think it's going to be at life. So pitching a Gadatsu there. So choosing to swing with the leader first. And this is going to work out well for them, I think, because there's a Sanji that goes to the bin. They only have the Hyoris. It's basically going to force them to use a 2K to get out of some of these. So you probably don't swing the Gadatsu here. You probably swing. Oh man, one thing that is an interesting interaction actually that I didn't think about is that if they don't get the opponent, the Enel, if Katakuri doesn't get the Enel to 0 life, a Yamato is going to pop the Gadatsu. So I actually think maybe you do swing the Gadatsu here because you're not afraid of anything else. And yeah, it might be low odds that they have a Yamato, right? That could also come down onto the field, but I think you have to be wary of that overall. And so yes, going to be swinging this Gadatsu. I like this play. I think that you just have to do it, even if the odds are really, really low that one of these 4 cards is a Yamato. I think you just have to act as if they do have one in hand. And so thinking about what they want to do, they definitely don't want to go to 0 life this turn, so they just really have to stop one swing that comes to life. And so they're going to pitch one of the Hioris, and now the Linlin comes down and swings and takes out that ace. So I really like saving that ace for last. The Gadatsu did get a Hiyori, so now top decking the 8-drop Katakuri. So the 8-drop Katakuri, I'm not sure. You might actually want to play that to put the Onami in the life. The Onami KOs up to one of your opponent's 5 or cost lower characters, so that would get rid of the Gadatsu unless they had another 10-drop Big Mom in hand, which I guess you could put it at the bottom, but you don't have too much life left, so you can kind of, the Katakuri player can still kind of manipulate when they're actually going to use it. So going to be swinging 10 at the rested Linlin, that 7-drop Linlin, and that is probably going to go down to a 10 on an 8. They would have to pitch the Amande and the Pudding in order to save that one, and it looks like they are. I do think that keeping this Linlin is probably a really good idea, because you're in a pretty decent position overall to, if a lot of these characters survive, that you swing for game next turn. Now with the Gadatsu going away, maybe not as much, but it's going to be interesting how this decision goes. If, ooh boy, because what, the Pudding can only find you 4 cards. You don't have a lot of cards going on right now, and as that is a very small cost character, that could find you like another 7-drop or another 8-drop or whatever. So going to be letting that go. I think valuing the Pudding just a little bit more, and so that 9 is going to come down. That Yamato popping the Gadatsu, like I mentioned, that you have to be wary of, and all of a sudden 2 of the bigger bodies are gone, and so could be a 5k swing from this leader. I think you do swing 5 at this leader. The top life is something that they don't know about, so it's gonna be an Okiku. Oh man, the Okiku. If your opponent is at 3 or less life, play this card. So the Okiku was huge because it also has that on KO effect as well. Oh my goodness, to just add a life. So especially with Enel, I think Okiku is really good into the Enel matchup, because the Enel always hovers between like 1 or 2 life in a game, basically. That's like their control state, where they kind of level off is at 1 or 2 life. So Okiku, with that on play effect, or I'm sorry, on KO effect of, if your opponent's life is at 3 or less, place the top card of your deck on the top of your life. Just really, really good overall, because it's almost always going to hit with the against an Enel. So now the Katakuri is at 10 done here. They're thinking about swinging 9 overall. I think you do swing 9 here, right? Because if you play the Pudding, right, you have 2 Amandes again in hand. If you play the Pudding, if you find a Katakuri, right, if you attach 1 Dawn and swing 7 at leader, you could get a Katakuri and still play it, right? So it wouldn't be that bad. So playing that that Pudding, looking at the top 4, finding a Big Mom, and so putting that Big Mom in hand. The rest of the Dawn is probably going to be redistributed to the rest of the field with the Okiku and the Katakuri. So I definitely agree with that play in terms of putting down the Pudding first and just searching for some stuff. So going to be attaching at least 2 Dawn. It could be more than that at this point. They might be thinking, no, they wouldn't play the Amaru, I don't think. What do you do here? Do you just try to distribute the Dawn like super evenly? You preemptively put the Dawn, right? Well, I don't think yellow has any triggers that KOs off of power, so might be worried about that impact like they're saying. So attaching 3 Dawn to life, swinging 9k or just 8. They don't want to look at the top of their life. Oh no, they're showing it to him. So they're looking at the opponent's life, and it is going to be a Yamato. So thinking about what they want to do on that, I say, yeah, put it at the bottom of deck. Put it at the bottom. You don't want to see them get any more boss monsters, any more Yamatos, things like that. So go ahead, put some more on the Okiku. You've got 6 Dawn left. I don't know if it's worth like hitting 6 on the Okiku, but with that 8 or 9k swing, I'm sorry, the Enel player is going to find out you should be the one that should disappear right there. 0 cost, pitch a card, 3000 power, yellow card, and then also top decking the Amaru. So could be interesting to see how this goes. They could rest the Amaru and KO it. You would give them another life though, so I don't know if that's necessarily good, but you definitely want a board control, right? You would want a board control in this game, so you could do that. You could just like rest the Okiku and then boost up the Enel, swing the Enel at the Okiku, but instead opting to swing 5 with this Onami. This Onami is getting a ton of free swings in this game, and I don't really hate this one as much. I don't hate this route. It's just the Okiku is definitely either going to stay or go in life. But I think you probably put the Onami in life, right? So going to be countering out the 2k Amande, and then the Enel swinging, and there is that impact. We knew what that card was, and so not opting for the trigger, and now thinking I think they're going to play Katakuri. That would make sense in this one as they have 8 Dawn left. Maybe thinking about if they want to swing Yamato or not at this point. If you play Katakuri, your options of putting back in life are putting Okiku or Onami, and I think you probably go the Onami because the Onami can KO like the Okiku, I guess, but then they just play like 10 drop Big Mom and either go around the Onami, or they play 10 drop Big Mom, trash that 1 life, and then swing the Okiku to where if you take the life, sure, you can KO the Okiku, but it already swung. So it's like, it's an interesting spot for the Enel player. I definitely think that Katakuri has advantage at this point. It's just, it feels really awkward for Enel, but if Enel can just continue lasting and continue finding these, you know, kind of bigger pieces, I think they can potentially overwhelm the Katakuri. But I think what they're deciding right now though is whether or not to attach Dawn to the Yamato to swing at the Big Mom. So that'll be really interesting to see what they want to do. They've put 2 Dawn to the side. Could be thinking about potentially still using Amaru, but then you have a ton of Dawn left, and that just feels really, really weird at this point. So it's either play Katakuri or do something else. I'm not 100% sure what that something else would be. You're the one that should disappear is a trigger that has, if you have 0 life, put the top card of your deck on your life pile, then trash a card from your hand. So it's basically like an Enel effect without using the leader effect. So maybe you want to try to get that in life. Can you with the Hiyori? Maybe that's what they're thinking about. Maybe using the Hiyori, because like we mentioned, that does put a card from your hand into your life after taking that life. So it's either play Katakuri and put something like Onami in your life, or play the Hiyori, put something like the 200 million volt Amaru, or the you're the one that should disappear event card, or even the Beijing if you wanted, and then use the rest of the Dawn for Yamato, I guess, to knock out the 10 drop Big Mom. The crazy thing is, you know that they have a 10 drop Big Mom in hand, so if you do put something at the top of your life through Hiyori, then they know exactly that it's something important, right? And so they're going to be like, oh, well, I'll just 10 drop Big Mom it. So going to be swinging that Yamato and claiming that life. It's going to be that 0 cost event that you're the one that should disappear. And so playing that Katakuri is their final decision, and going to be putting the Onami, right? And I think they may be deciding for the Onami either the top or the bottom, and they're going to say the bottom. So they don't have knowledge of what that life card is right there, but it tells the Katakuri player, okay, you got to start swinging then. if you want to specifically get this one. And so drawing a 2K counter, very, very nice. And so thinking about what they want to do, I really don't hate the game plan, honestly, of using 10 drop Big Mom. I think that it's just such a good card that, like, you just almost always play it when you have it, right? Like, anytime that you're at 10 Dawn, like, you almost always do. And I know that's not exactly correct, but that's just what it feels like. So one of the things on this 3-on-3 too is I haven't seen either of these leaders, which is the game that we're watching. It's a battle between the leaders. We haven't seen them talk with the other players at NA Nats. I played in the first day side event for the 3-on-3, and as the leader, the person that signed us up, I was able to communicate with my teammates, but then my teammates weren't able to communicate with me. And it might be something that I just haven't noticed overall, just been too busy thinking about the game that we're watching at hand, but really thinking about what they want to do now. So what are the options that they can do, right? 200 million tomorrow doesn't really do anything besides like boosting you up in power, right? The impact doesn't really do much either. Oh, okay. So attaching one Don to the Okiku, so they're not playing the 10 drop Big Mom this turn. And that's a really interesting point that we can talk about. Maybe playing this impact overall. This impact would say if your opponent has 1 life, deal 1 damage to them, then add the top card of your life to your hand. So effectively putting you down to 0 life, but I think they're trying to swing at lethal this turn. So if they can get the Enel player to take a life right here, then they can go ahead with the maybe the Onami is going to be a big deal. The Onami, they really need to deal the life to the did they just scoop? Oh, no, right? No, they didn't just scoop. Some of the other games are finishing. I was like, oh, no, are we not going to see the finish of this game? Because it would make sense that if your other people was a 2-0, then this third game literally doesn't matter. But for the viewer perspective, that would suck though. So you want the NL player to take this life right here, and this is going to be perfect. I think it's going to be a Yamato. We knew what that Yamato was, and so that impact is going to play down, take out the Onami. So now, wait, it's dealing 1 damage, so you still get a trigger. Never mind, not as big of a brain play as I thought. But what is going to happen now is they have 2 more swings that they can do. So they're going to attach probably the rest of this Dawn to the leader and swing at life, looking at that life. They could actually swing all but 1. Oh man, you lose to a Beijay right here. That's for sure. I think you just lose to a Beijay. Is it Beijay? Is it Beijay? It's going to be a 12 at lead. That is, I think, going to, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's going to be exactly 12. So they have exactly 12 counter in hand. So they can't defend this. They could actually defend the next swing, though, because of the 2Ks and the you're the one that should disappear counter. So I think you take this. Honestly, take it. Take it. Just do it. Come on, man. They only have 5 more Dawn. They can only swing 11k. Oh, do they get the boost if you have 0 life? I actually don't know. You can take either 10 or 11 on that next swing because you have 12k worth of counter, right? So, the 200 million Voltamaru. You do have to think, okay, so I was a little bit too fast. The 200 million Voltamaru could push you over, but that's going to be a Charlotte Cracker. That's a 1k. And so using this 200 million Voltamaru, going to be pushed 3 and 3 more for 12 overall. And again, they're going to be able to get out of this. You lose to a double 200 million Voltamaru, but oh my gosh, getting out of, did they go extra? 2, 4. Okay, yeah, they got out of it. So it's going to be the NL player that wins that one. So I don't know the results from the other games, but just going to be attaching 19 to the And now it looks like the team on the left did end up winning on it. Maybe it was a 1-1 overall, and it came down to that end. That was a crazy end overall, in my opinion. It was a very, very good game. It kind of swung back and forth. I feel like the Katakuri was doing really, really well, but holding the like Hioris and holding the 2Ks overall actually was really, really good for the Enel player and really helped him out in the end there. So that's going to be it for this one. This team advances into the next round. What's the next round going to be overall, so I can give you kind of a sneak preview? Come back. It's going to be a Moria mirror. Oh my goodness. I do know that there was one round where there was, oh, they're showing off the OP07 leaders. I think this one right here is the Vinsmoke deck. So we will be seeing that in the future, but for now, we'll just have to wait. So thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more, and let me know in the comments how you felt about this game.